Do we need one of these?
Boom! All right, what's going on, you guys? We are back today with the second episode of the podcast, which still doesn't have a name.
It doesn't have a name?
It doesn't have a name yet, so it's going to be kind of floating around.
That's going to be a contest.
Yeah, it's going to be a
little
little
bit
bit
to name it. Yeah, there's going to be a cash prize.
A
Cash from
prize?
this guy. Yeah.
But you guys, today we are joined with a very special guest. I wanted him on very early in the kind of podcast, episodes because he's someone that I've known for years. And
long time, dude.
Very long time.
Yeah.
How many years now? Like 5, 6?
5 or 6.
Yeah. Super long. And
from before you were drinking age.
That's right. Because I remember the Padua, everyone was drinking and I couldn't drink.
You couldn't drink?
I was just watching you guys like, nice.
Yeah.
That was nice. But today we're joined with
Sorry.
I should say. It's all good.
Alarm.
It's Loosey Goosey, remember?
Yeah.
It's Loosey Goosey.
Do not disturb.
He's a photographer. He is a content creator. He's also the powerhouse behind the ever so famous film company, Shoot Film Co.
Powerhouse.
Nice. The man, the myth, the legend, the great dad and funny guy of the film community we have today, Mike Padua.
Good to be here, man.
I had to practice that in my head a couple of times.
That's great. That was really good. Yeah, you nailed that. That was take 8, by the way.
Yeah, that was... Could have been 8. But, yeah, do you want to give yourself a proper introduction? I don't feel like I did you justice.
Yeah, well, my name is Mike. First and foremost, I'm a husband and a dad. I'm a photographer.
Yes.
I do it professionally, but also for fun. And out of my love for photography came a brand I started in 2015 called Shoot Film Co., which just started, it started real small. It started as one embroidered patch. I gave a bunch of those away, and my friends started asking for more, and I was thinking, I'll just make more designs and more stuff, and that just became like a big outlet, and it grew into a bunch of other products. So, yeah.
And for those of you guys who are watching and listening, we're in his office right now, so this is the headquarters, right?
Yeah, we're in the headquarters. It's in it's in a former army base, an army base that closed in the 60s. The building is super haunted.
Dude.
I tell everybody that. I tell everybody who comes here, this building is super haunted. I hate being here at night. But yeah, we are here in my office.
And we're doing the podcast here because, I don't know. I think over the years I've come to both. You used to have an office like down the street too.
Yeah, I had an office around the corner. Which I kind of miss because it had like really nice big windows.
Yeah.
There's a studio upstairs which you've been to, which we filmed one of your YouTube videos in.
I remember that.
Yeah,
the video.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like headshots for actors there and some product shots and stuff. But I spend most of my time in this office.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, guys. I'm terrible at being a host, so it might seem a little sloppy or loose. I was just telling Mike that, I'm still trying to get the ropes of all this podcast stuff going on.
Pretty good for episode 2.
Really?
Though,
think so?
You made it to episode 2.
Why are you struggling my ego,
You
dude?
survived.
Okay. So with that said, we don't actually have a topic for this episode.
We have like 6 topics.
We have 6. So I asked you guys on Instagram, what you guys, want to hear on the podcast, and then I couldn't really decide on one, and I wanted to have Mike kind of fill in and, see what he wanted to talk about as well. So we have a ton of different, or not a ton, but we have some podcast ideas, and not really like a Q&A, but we're going to kind of make our way through, and then hopefully we do find one that, we kind of stick on for a while, and then maybe I can use that as like the title topic for this episode. But yeah, I guess let's just, go ahead and get started with...
no agenda, just chatting.
Just chatting.
That's going to be it for an hour.
That's exactly what you guys are about to listen to. This is how Mike and I hang out. What we do hang out.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. You want to start this one? The argument?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So we got Instagram user Joshu Fimzef. Sorry if I butcher your name, man. His idea was the argument between editing film photos, why people are so passionately against it. Do you edit your film photos?
Yeah, of course I do.
Who doesn't though, right?
Yeah. Next topic. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, of course I edit. Like, I bring them into... I don't always edit them as a rule, but, you know, sometimes I'll just download a scan or just, you know, I have a negative supply rig that I use every once in a while that I'm using more and more. And, you know, I'll just throw some curves on it, get the color kind of close to where I want it to be. You know, I don't overthink it. I mean, sometimes I do, you know, if it's like an important photo or it's going to be published in a certain place or needs to go to a certain person and things need to be perfected or something needs to be dusted.
Right.
You know? Yeah, of course. I'll spend the time that I need to on a photo. Sometimes that's 0 time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more time than, you know, sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's really important. I'm going to print it big, so I'll just do the sharpening and the dusting and adjust the colors and all that stuff. And
well, that's the thing. I feel like when people are against editing film, I think they're talking about like throwing presets on an already filmed photo.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know, have you ever done that before?
No, I'm not a fan of presets, and I have nothing against them. I just like they're just usually never what I want. You know, you know what I mean? And I've tried a fair share of presets, but like the thing with I kind of feel like that film is kind of already a preset. Exactly. Like I'll choose a film because of the way it looks. Right. Or even sometimes I'll choose a film because of its neutrality, because I can make it look any way I want, you know? Yeah. I can add contrast. I can take away contrast if I want to, whatever fits the picture. But yeah, I can kind of see that how some people will be, you know, I don't know, maybe they think they're changing the inherent characteristics of the film. Like, it's like you shoot film because it looks a certain way. Why are you changing it? Which, you know, I kind of hear that. I understand that. But, you know, it's just, again, it's just like whatever. I feel it's like whatever you need the picture to be for your end result or your desired result. You know, I think that's what's important. Do you use presets at all, or?
I do sometimes on like digital photos.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like digital photos, they just come out looking like any other digital photo. But I'm hesitant to do that with film. I think I've done it like once. Like I have VSCO. Yeah. You know, do you have that app?
I think I've downloaded it before. Yeah. And then like, don't you have to log into it?
You got to log in, or
I lose my password, and I'm like, nah, I'm just reset your password. It's like, nah, I'll do it later. But I've seen that app for sure. Yeah. I'm very aware of it.
VSCO is cool because I feel like, especially for posting like photos on Instagram, like any quick stories, you can throw like a quick little edit, and if you take the time to like make your own preset, like, I don't know, I'm a big nerd when it comes to trying to match what film actually looks like. Okay. You know what I mean? So like on the Fuji camera that I have, the X Pro 2, like I have presets for Portra 400. I have a preset for Fuji, which is like just super green and dark looking.
Green and dark.
That's what I see.
Fuji as. No, for sure. Yeah. You gotta expose that thing a little bit more, but
for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't do it on film photos. I like you. I kind of just adjust curves. I do a little bit of like I put it in the Lightroom first, and then I'll take the dust out. But usually, actually, let me ask you this: I've never had any like experience working at a film lab. Do you know what the process is like for when they scan your photos? Like, do they edit your photos before sending them out to you, like to get it, you know, to a point where it looks good?
They do. So I've never worked in a film lab either, but I've seen that process. We toured the darkroom. Remember? Were you there? Were you there at that tour? Yeah. But also, anybody who's ever, have you ever used the Pack-On?
No.
So anybody who's ever used, I got my first Pack-On for $180, dude.
See, this is why I need to go thrifting with you.
That wasn't a thrift. That was eBay.
eBay?
When Pack-Ons were under $200. This was like 2014-ish. 2015-ish maybe.
I didn't shoot film yet.
Yeah. But I got my first Pac-On for $180 ship. Anyway,
So jealous.
but if anybody who's ever used a Pac-On and has seen that interface, it's like a touch interface for the lab, and it's super rudimentary. It's like brightness, contrast, red, green, blue, up and down.
That's it.
And that's it.
Okay.
And it's just like, because it's for the person at a lab. If something looks, because a lot of the film they get in a lab is like people who they're not photographers. They're just somebody with a point and shoot, somebody who's using a disposable inside of a club, and it's like all dark and grainy. So they'll just brightness, pop, 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 contrast, pop, pop, pop. It's pretty green. We'll bring that down, pop, pop. And then on. It's like workflow. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
It's like get it in, get it okay looking, and get it out. So they do at labs, they do like some very rudimentary, what we call editing, but
see, that's interesting, because I always thought like when you send stuff to a lab, like they'll sit there and they'll take their time and like, oh, it looks really green, let's add some magenta to it,
And there are labs that do that. Like I think Richard Photo Lab, they're a super high-end lab, I think in the Los Angeles area. They work with like higher-end wedding shooters and stuff. And they even have, like, let's say you shoot weddings and you communicate with the lab and say, I like my pictures this way. I like skin tones right around the 80% mark. I like my shadows to not clip. And so they'll have notes for you.
Yeah.
And so when they take in your film, there will be a dedicated tech that will do those edits to make your film look like the way that you want it.
How much is each roll to get developed?
I have no idea. But I'm pretty sure
that's like a bougie film lab almost.
It is. They're high end. Like
high-end.
I can't. I know there's other high end film labs in the country, but they're like, as far as my knowledge goes, they're like one of, if not the highest end ones. I'm not saying that they're the only one,
right?
There are, like they're like, when I think of high end film lab, they're the first name that comes to mind.
Richards.
Yeah, Richard. I don't think there's an S. I think it's
Richard.
Just Richard Photo Lab. Yeah.
Well, I can see where there's like, especially for professionals, right, that maybe don't have all the time to,
right? Yeah.
Go in and do all of that.
Yeah. And, on the other spectrum of that, there's your Walmarts, that's like scan, send, shred your negatives,
That's terrible.
It's awful. Yeah.
Every time I tell the viewers, like, where to get developed, I try to tell them not to go to Walmart. Or
yeah. Like, I always tell people, when people ask me, where should I get my film developed? I tell them, well, first and foremost, make sure wherever you send it, make sure they return your negatives, because more and more places, even more places that are marketing themselves as quality labs. I can think of one place in particular. I'm not going to name it, but you've probably seen ads for it. I actually can't even think of the name, but but I see ads for it. I see ads for this lab all the time, and people have told me they do not return your negatives. So it's just so I tell people who are new to film that wherever they send their film, you communicate with them and make sure that they do in fact return your negatives,
right?
Because some places just don't.
Yeah.
Walmart being one of them. Yeah.
And I don't think they give you like scans anymore. Like they can put it on a USB, but usually it's just CD. Like USB comes with extra price. And I don't even know how to read a CD anymore. Do you have a CD reader?
I think in one of my computers, I think this old computer has one. Reader? Yeah. But yeah, that's the problem with a lot of people is modern computers don't have CD drives, So I don't give it to you on a floppy drive.
How do you even read those, by the way?
With a drive, like some old computers have floppy drives.
Oh, like you just plug it in?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Well, actually, the real answer is you don't read them because nobody has floppy drives.
I see them at thrift stores all the time.
The like, floppy drives. Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. All right. So I think we answered the question there.
Yeah, what was the question? Where did that even start?
Editing film photos.
Oh, editing film photos.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
Like, I know, like, people can get just really up in arms about it, but I'm really big into just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As
and if what you want is ridiculous,
go for it.
Go for it, man. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like editing film photos, if it's not like changing the way it looks, like adding a mountain behind you, or like photoshopping a mountain behind you, and like you're just in the middle of like
so that's that's kind of its own discussion of like you're just removing. That's kind of that age-old photojournalism discussion of like, Steve McCurry's gotten in trouble for
has he?
Yeah, for just little things like removing a stop sign, from a photojournalistic standpoint. You get into like that's an ethics discussion. You know what I mean? As opposed to, there's the artistic side of things. It's like, okay, that stop sign doesn't help the composition. That's one thing. But then when you're talking about photojournalism, which is what he's known for, that becomes an ethics thing.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. And even like I know years back there was a Pulitzer Prize winning photograph, I believe, where there was some little pebbles on the ground, and they found out that they were removing pebbles from like little rocks on the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think maybe not a Pulitzer, but some other award, but that award got rescinded. That award got taken away because of, because it's a journalistic thing, not an artistic thing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. All right. I think we can move on from that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Let's go look through these, Mike.
All right.
Let's see what we got. Yeah.
How to use light meter apps?
How do you
use a light meter app?
I don't anymore.
Have you ever used it like a standalone light meter?
Not like the seconding meters.
Okay.
But like there's a hot shoe light meter that I have been using.
Oh yeah, that little like the Kex or whatever, or is it a voice? Okay, yeah.
It's the Kex one.
Yeah.
And like I sold the Leica. I think I told you that.
That's right. You sold your M3. M2.
And that was I had that thing on there all the time, but now I bring it in my pocket. It's so small. You just just read there.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, light meter apps are handy.
They are, and they're there. So
yeah,
I don't think it's bad to have one in your phone.
No, I think the one I use. People always ask like, what's a good one to use? The one I use is it's called Pocket Light Meter. That's it. Yeah, Pocket Light Meter. Super.
Oh yeah, that's the one I have
for those at home.
Pocket Light Meter, and that's like a spot, right? You can actually pick and.
Yep, you can pick. It's even got. This is handy. It's got a color. Yeah, it's got color meter. It's got a temperature reading.
That's smart.
That's cool. Yeah, that's super handy.
All right.
I don't know if that's the kind of detail that person wanted, but light meters, thumbs up. Yeah.
They're good. Just use one.
They're handy. Just having one around is handy. It's also a cool learning tool. Just seeing like, if you're in a scene and, a game I try to play with myself is just to guess the exposure.
Same. Yeah, I do that all the time.
I just do that. Sometimes I'll shoot Sunny 16 just to be sharp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because it's fun to do. And, when you get a rollback and see that like, oh, I guessed that exposure.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where you're not guessing.
Yeah.
You know the exposure.
You just know it off the bat.
Yeah.
That was a hard learning curve for me too.
Yeah.
Just like guessing exposure, but I think now I'm like remembering all of those like random times where I'm like, okay, that's 5/6 out, like 1/500th, and I'll take my phone out because I don't have a camera on me, and I'll check it using the light meter app, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm off. But yeah, you're right. It's a great learning tool.
Yeah,
and it doesn't hurt to have it on your phone, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How about gear acquisition syndrome?
Oh man, I'm one of the biggest victims of gear acquisition syndrome.
Well, first let's talk about what that is, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who probably haven't heard of gas.
Well, how would you define it?
Okay, gear acquisition syndrome. Just buy a ton of gear.
Yeah,
stuff that you don't need, or maybe stuff you do need
because you think it'll make your pictures better
all the time
because you think it'll make you happy.
Oh yeah,
right. Because you think it'll be fun to have item X.
Yeah, or it'll motivate you for your photography.
Right, it'll motivate you. Like, if only I just had a better microphone for the podcast. Right,
I'm
like
doing good.
Yeah. But yeah, I've definitely fallen victim to that.
Yeah,
and I think to some extent I had to go through it so I could get over it. You know what I mean? I still go thrifting and stuff. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I go thrifting just because it's fun to do. You know what I mean? Fun. But I rarely, I don't, like, there aren't any cameras that I'm lusting after anymore, because I've already kind of done it. You know what I mean? It was hard for me to get to that place because, like, I went, the only way for me to get over it was to go through it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I've tried this camera, I've tried that camera. I realized I don't like these types of cameras because I got to try them, you know? But I will say, for anybody in the throes of gear acquisition syndrome, I'll offer up this advice: is just try to remember what made things fun to begin with, and just don't forget that, because in the past I certainly have forgotten that. You know, so
I think it's something that everyone or every photographer goes through. It's not something you can avoid. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, for me, it snowballed. Like, I started with an HTSI Plus as my first film camera. Then I got an X700.
What is an HTSI?
Okay, you know how, like, Canon made, like, the Rebel. They look like DSLR cameras.
Okay.
But they're more automated. I don't know. Minolta made versions of that too. So they had.
What brand is it?
Minolta.
Oh, it's a Minolta.
Yeah,
an HTSI Plus. I need to get one of those. Pull up eBay. Let's get one.
I have an extra one. I'll give it to you if you want it.
Speaking of gas.
Yeah. But I think every photographer goes through that. You know, I don't think anybody buys a camera and they're like, this is my tool. This is what I'm going to use for a while. And
I think a lot of them do, because I think I know for me, photography is multiple things to me. It's the art, it's the photography itself, right? But it's also the gear. And to me, I recognize those as two different things. Yeah. But for me, there is some overlap. You know, it's like, I like playing with stuff. I like technology. You know, I love playing with new stuff and learning about new things and things that I think are interesting. You know, but also separately from that, I like the art. So
the art side,
you know, yeah. I think a lot of people do, and you know, I'm sure there's somebody out there that just, like, has been using the same camera for 30 years and they don't care.
They don't care about
that's cool. Yeah, you know, that's not me.
Yeah,
you know,
I think you and I both.
Yeah. But yeah, it goes back to that learning thing. You're experimenting, you're learning. Yeah. You're kind of, you know, you're learning what works for you.
And also with film, there's just so many different, like, you know, different routes you can go. You can go medium format. Yeah. You got the TLRs, and then you have cameras that have, like, the waist level viewfinders. Yeah. It's hard not to want to try one of those. Yeah. And so, like, at least, you know, speaking for myself, I tried everything. Yeah. Just to see, you know, like you, just to get it under my belt. And then now I think I'm past that point. I still thrift a lot. Yeah. But it's, like you said, I don't really, like, lust. I mean, I do have one dream camera still.
What is it?
The Hasselblad X-Pen.
Oh, the X-Pen.
X-Pen.
Okay.
Because, like, I think the Leica was one of them, but then I got tired of it. And then now it's the X-Pen. Or the 6.7, the Pentax 6.7. It was, like, my dream camera.
And you have one, right?
I have one. Okay. And I'm never selling it. Okay. That's my thing now. So I found my tool through gear acquisition syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the important thing. You got there. Yeah. You know, and sometimes I recognize it's debilitating sometimes. For me, it got to a point, it was years ago now, but got to a point where I was going on a trip and I was stressing about which cameras I was going to bring on this trip. You know, and I was like, dude, like, I think I even posted about it. It's like, I don't know what to bring. I was, like, legit stressed. And exactly, you know, but now it's like, dude, if I have one camera and one lens, you know, it's like, dude, okay, cool. I know I'm gonna be happy with this,
with that piece of gear.
Yeah.
All right. Next topic.
All right.
How do you feel about the rivalry between digital and film, because this was a big one when I was like first getting into film. I think there was like a huge boom that I was when I was getting into it, and a lot of people would,
they still
digital.
do. Yeah, I think they still do.
Film, not megapixels. Like there were all these hashtags that were just, not bashing film, or not film, digital.
Digital, sure.
But there was a really weird time where, if you posted a digital photo in a film kind of community lab thing, they'd be like, "What is the hell is this?"
You get
you get crap for it.
What?
So yeah.
I think it's with so many things. I mean, for me, the short answer is just use whatever you want. Just use whatever use what makes you happy on the journey, and then but also use what makes you happy in the end result. Because I think those two things matter. A lot of people always say like the only thing that matters is the end result. I don't necessarily agree with that, because for me, photography is part of what I love about photography is the process and getting to that end result.
Right.
So I just think that like if use both, like one of the things with a brand like Shoot Film Co. is that people assume I'm anti-digital. And I even have products that are jokingly anti-digital. You know what I mean? But it's like I don't care. I use digital cameras every day. Like I have, I use my phone every day. I have Fuji gear that I use nearly every day.
Right.
I have that digital Leica that I use all the time. And just because it's fun to use.
Well, do you take your product photos on film?
No.
Oh my!
I don't think I've ever taken a product photo on film.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna have you take them and then send them to that fancy photo lab. I don't think. Well, actually, no. I think I have taken like some product photos on film. But I don't make it a point to. You know what I mean? And it's just like, because for me the fun what I like about film, and this might be like the broader discussion, but what I like about film is just like, shooting film pictures of my kids on a Saturday at the park. And, it's just like, not looking at the screen, and people will say, well, you can just turn off the screen. Well, I can't. I keep I keep looking at the screen. That's me. I can't fight my own psychology. You know what I mean? Like, if I could fight my own psychology, I would be, like, working out every day. And, you know what I mean? Eating right every day.
Eating good.
Right. Yeah. But I can't. So, but, what was the question?
See?
Oh, filming
digital.
No agenda, just chatting.
Yep. That's exactly what we're doing. I don't think there's so much a rivalry anymore, though.
Yeah.
I think people have come to accept,
people
hybrid
have calmed
shooters.
down. Yeah. People have calmed down a little bit.
But there was definitely a weird period of time where it was like you either just pro film and film only, or if you did both, people wouldn't look at your work. They'd just be like,
yeah, there's camps, right?
Yeah, there's big camps.
It's
there's
like
Minolta Gang, there's Pentax Gang.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
And Minolta Gang, I hear some horrible things about those people. But
They're terrible.
They're a violent street gang.
They're menaces. Walking around with their X.
Yeah, but they're walking around with their HTSI pluses.
I know, right? Such a nerdy camera, dude. It's like, it has a really weird shutter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has a funny sounding shutter.
But yeah, I think those camps have calmed down a little bit. People have kind of come to their senses, and I just never seen it as a fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've been a big proponent and a big fan of film. That does not mean I'm anti-digital. You know what I mean? They're not mutually exclusive. Like you can love one and love the other.
Right?
Too. You know what I mean? Or you can love one and hate the other. That's fine. That's up to you. That's your prerogative. But I really don't care. But
do you think people created a rivalry though because, at that time, film wasn't, so trendy or?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some element of gatekeeping to everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about guitars and music earlier. Anybody who plays guitar knows that there's this long-standing thing between tube amps and digital stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it's like, dude, they can both be awesome. You can use both, or you can use one or use the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's some level of gatekeeping of like, you know, it's like, well, this is what I like, and this is, you know, this artist that I love and respect use this, so this is what you're supposed to use. And this other thing is wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
I think people can fall into that attitude, and I think that's what creates that. But once, you know, again, it's just kind of a matter of calming down. It's like, just let people like what they like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's settled down.
Yeah. And every once in a while you'll still see on some websites, like, you know, like an A/B. It's like, which one's film and which one's digital.
Right.
And I've always thought, I don't care. You know, you just have made two pictures look like each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
right.
like, what's it matter? And, you know, but I know those articles get clicks and they get comments and they get shares and,
yeah,
you know, so.
Shoot film, not digital.
Yeah. Yeah. Shoot film, not megapixels.
Oh, that's how it was?
Yeah. Or I think buy film, not megapixels. I think there's a bunch of different
hashtags.
Ones. Yeah. It's like this third party camera or battery brand, and they had like 100 followers, but I was still like, oh my god,
it's Wasabi. I bought your batteries.
Yeah.
All right, so we took a little tech break because I had to replace the battery in the camera. I don't know, for the visual viewers, is that what you call them, people watching?
Yeah, the visual
listeners. There's like some photos in between, so we lost like a minute of footage. Anyways,
that we know of
at least. Moving on to the next topic. We just talked about the rivalry between digital and film, but now,
all right, what do we got? What's next?
How about either of these would be great? How to start / make your own zine, how to accept taking bad photos, moving on, instead of giving up, film photography trends, good, bad, manage creative burnout.
Those are all really good, actually.
Maybe we'll end with those three.
Sure.
All right. Let's start with the one that I feel like is going to take the least amount of time.
Okay.
How to accept taking bad photos and moving on instead of giving up.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Just worry about the photos that you did take.
Period.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you took a bunch of photos. Some of them are going to be bad. Most of them are probably going to be bad.
Yeah.
Just worry about the good ones. So this one is one I really struggled with when I first started photographing theatrical productions, because that's a big portion of my business, is photographing like musicals, plays, concerts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I would this production would be going on, and I would see a shot that I missed. Like I would take a burst of shots, and then like the action would move, and then I didn't have my camera up to my eye, and I was like, I missed that shot, and I would lose sleep over the shots that I missed. Really? You know what I mean? Yeah, I would really lose sleep over it. But then I realized, it's like I'm going to end up delivering hundreds of great photos that the client loves at the end of that shoot.
At the end, yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know that I missed this one thing that I wanted. I'm the only one worrying about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So... yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes, and I still miss shots. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I could have missed. That was a great shot, great light, great pose, great expression. I missed it.
We all do.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, look at your photographs, or look at, you know, your scans or negatives or whatever. Worry about what you did take. You know? Because there's going to be some awesome stuff there.
There is.
There's always awesome stuff there that's going to make you happy or create a memory or something. But
yeah, I think very similar. But, you know, I don't have that same background where like I did like any theatrical or like super like, you know, kind of professional setting. But when I do go out to like shoot street photography, I think of it as like a roll to roll basis. So like I'll usually bring like 3 to 4 rolls, and if I can get through all 4, the retention of what I think initially are like good photos is like super low. Yeah. There's maybe like 1 or 2 per roll, and you know, on a 36 exposure roll, that's a lot of bad photos.
Yeah. So what do you think? That's like 3%? Would you characterize it as about 3%?
You know,
1 or 2 on a roll, but 1 or 2 on a roll.
Is that percent? Right? Is that what it equals out to? I think so. Yeah. I have no idea. But yeah, like some rolls will be like this is a banger roll. You got like 5, like for me, if I can get away with like 5 photos on a roll that are great, I think that is, you know, that's probably one of my better days.
Yeah.
But usually it's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Just because when you're out shooting street photography, there's like no certainty to anything.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But damn, I was just about to say something I forgot about.
That was gonna be amazing too.
Whatever, I remember.
Whatever.
I remember it. You gave me the look. Okay. I think also what we think is a good photo is really skewed. A lot of times, like I'll go through all these rolls and I'm like, okay, there's nothing good here.
Yeah.
But then like a month or 2 later, I'll revisit it, and then I'm like, holy crap, this is actually solid.
Yeah.
You know, and that also kind of works into like making zines or like bodies of work, because maybe you don't see it right now, and maybe this is why it's important also to keep your negatives.
Yeah.
When you go through those negatives or just go through your scans, I feel like there are some photos in there that maybe didn't work at that time, but they do now. So, you know, to kind of answer your question on like moving on from taking bad photos, maybe just, I don't know, bad photos.
Well, that time, you know, like that time that you pointed out when you go back to that roll a month or, you know,
right,
or whatever amount of time. I think that's a great point. I don't remember who said this, but it's kind of a famous quote is that you fall in love with the last picture that you took.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you give yourself some time away from that and to kind of clear your mind and to give yourself less of a bias towards the last photo that you took,
right,
then you can look at a whole contact sheet or a whole roll or whatever with a fresher eye of like, okay, there is
That's
good
true.
stuff there.
Yeah.
You know, there's gonna be some good stuff there.
Yeah, because like, you know, you try to recreate.
Yeah.
Or I always say like it's you got to keep your mind open to all the different photos, because if you try to recreate a photo or make something very similar, it's gonna be really hard to make what you think is a good photo.
Yeah.
You know, because you do fall in love with
it. Here's a great quote. Have you ever seen that movie, The Zero Effect?
Nope.
It's a great movie. It's like a detective. Ben Stiller's in it. Bill Pullman's in it. But a great quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was along the lines of, if you're looking for if you're looking for a specific thing, then the likelihood of you finding that specific thing is low. But if you're looking for anything, then the likelihood of you finding anything is really high.
Really high.
Yeah.
Very true.
It was way cooler when he said it. But that was that's the idea. You know?
Yeah. Beautiful. I hope that answered your question, Mr. SidG_06. All right, let's move on. How to start/make your own zine.
Oh yeah, you can address that. You just had one that came out.
Yeah.
Hiatus.
That's hard though to say, like, how to start it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like ideas, like I didn't get the idea for hiatus until probably like 3 months before any like real like planning or anything went into it. It was just like a weird period of time between like the start of the pandemic up till that point where I didn't have like any goals for a body of work or anything. Just made photos.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. How did you sequence it? How did you decide on that sequence? Like placement? Sequence, like page 1, page 2, page. Okay. How did you decide on that?
The first half of the book is all black and white. So like it start like when the pandemic hit, I was in the middle of like creating a body of work, just a black and white body of work. And so that was kind of like the first half. It was just like the remnants of what that was. But then I stopped shooting black and white because I was like, this is kind of depressing. I mean, we're all inside already. Yeah. You know, when I did go out, when like all the lockdowns came off, I shot like over into like landscape stuff. So I shot more color. So I don't know. Sequencing was just putting photos that I felt like fit, but then also fit the timeline from like year, like month, day, you know, chronologically. But
was it strictly chronological, or was it mixed up a little bit, or Was that like a rule for that you made for yourself, or?
I don't think it was a rule.
Okay.
Because I mean, they were all pretty close in time anyway, but it was more of like, if this photo with a bird in it fit really good with this one that I just took yesterday, but the first one was like made in 2021, I'm gonna put them next to each other.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just because it makes more sense to me looking at it rather than, you know, just sticking chronologically. But to start and make your own zine, do you think you need to have like a solid idea before you make something like that, or do you think that it can come off later?
I think both. Like, I think that, you know, like, I know people who have approached it in different ways, where they go in with a solid idea of what they want the end result to be. And also, for a lot of those people, that also changes by the end of the project.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
You have a vision of what you want to make, but it's not always what ends up coming out. You know? And I also know a lot of people that have, you know, it's like, you know, I have a friend who he's putting together a zine of pictures that he took like from 2015. You know, so he's like 7 years removed from that time, and he's just like, oh, I forgot about this bunch of pictures. I'm gonna sequence something,
put them in,
you know. So I think not giving yourself I think being open to either one of those methodologies is you know, I think is fine, and do them both. You know, the cool thing with a zine is that, like, it's supposed to be just kind of a quick, you know, like quick, fairly inexpensive thing that you can just get out. You know, it's not like
a book.
It's not a book. It's not like your you know, your midlife retrospective of your career. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, it's just like a quick. It's more like a little postcard. You know what I mean? As opposed to just a whole letter. You know what I mean? It's just some quick notes and of some things that you wanna say or express. So yeah, when you were sequencing your photos, did you print them and then physically look at the sequences, or was it all on your screen? Was it all digital, or?
I did both.
Okay.
So like when I do make my zines, I'll print out. Well, first I'll make like a master file. Yeah. Which is just all of the photos that potentially could make it. But then, you know, when you make a zine, you work with like printing companies, you also got to think about how many pages you're going to put. Yeah. So like I'll go to them first and see, you know, with the paper and, you know, the cover, if we're going to put gloss on it, and then see, you know, how many pages roughly I'm going to have this zine. I don't ever kind of sequence and then put, you know, give them that just like straight off. I always give myself a little bit of a limit, because I don't like zines being like super bulky. Yeah. So for this one, at least, I printed out over 100, like just 4x6s. And it's kind of sad, because I feel like a lot of the photos that I didn't get to show in the zine were still pretty good photos, but they just didn't make the cut. Yeah. For that project. For that particular project. Yeah. And you got to be kind of like open-minded, like you said, you know, to how it goes. Because I feel like if you make a zine with like a plan, like, this is how I'm going to do it, this is how it's going to look, these are the photos I'm going to take, it's going to be a lot more stressful. Yeah. To try to always, you know, meet that kind of goal. Yeah. But yeah, I printed out the 100 4x6s, and then I kind of just piled them into like sections. So like the black and white stuff, laid them all out, and then I just did pics. Like, I like this photo, I like this one. And then I put that away on the side. The rest of them I kind of just, you know, threw out. And I did that with the color stuff. And then from that, it really hurt, because there were some photos in there that I really wanted to put in. But then I think with zines too, like, you got to put photos next to each other that have somewhat of a flow. A relationship with each other. Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't know. I mean, you could just put like random photos with other photos. I think it'll work still. Yeah. But I think I'm a little bit more thoughtful with like placing photos that I feel like work together, so that when, you know, if you were to just open one page of the book, you can, you know, appreciate it for just that one page, or that one spread. But it took a while. I just laid them out, and then I had to narrow it down. I think there's like 38 photos in hiatus that made it out of the 100. So that was it's a hard process.
Yeah.
To kind of go through.
Yeah.
So you don't want to make a super thick zine.
Right. So where did you get it printed? Like, logistically speaking, who did you get it printed through?
Printivity.
Printivity.
Yeah. Have you heard of them?
In San Diego?
You think so?
Okay. They used to be like,
yes.
What were they called? Copy, Max Copy or something? I can't remember.
I forgot. But the first time I printed with them was for the Crosswalk one, and they were that company.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a different name.
They had a different name, and then they rebranded. It's the same thing, same people.
Yeah.
Same everything,
just different branding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
And do you like working with them?
I do.
Okay.
Because they have like this really cool interface where they'll talk to you live, or they'll just talk to you on the phone.
Yeah.
And like I'll just be like, I don't know, running errands, getting groceries, and I'm like, yeah, let's do the heavier stock paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just feel like
Printivity sponsor this guy. Come on, dude. This is your guy, right?
yeah, I made a couple of zines with you guys already. What's up? Get the next one going. All right. We're about 14 minutes in. We probably have time for one more topic before we start doing our outro here.
All right.
Film photography trends, the good, the bad, and how to manage creative burnout.
Oh, wow. Film photography trends.
I don't know.
What are the trends nowadays?
I'm not part of the Cool Kids Club anymore.
Dude, okay. Right now, it's like Reels and TikTok. Those are the trends. And
yes.
like, so I don't know. I don't think I can speak to any of that stuff.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I just use film.
Yeah.
Okay. There is one that I know of. People were buying these like lights that made it look like there was like a sunrise in your room.
Okay.
And there was like a self-portrait kind of kick going on with film. Did you ever see any of those?
Like those like hard shadow LED lights against the...
Similar, but they would just like take photos of themselves through film. I mean...
And it was like a self-portrait thing?
It's a self-portrait thing. It's like a series of just self-portraits.
I don't think I've ever seen that. It sounds cool. Is it cool? Like, is it cool? Like, are there any notable...
I can't name any.
Yeah, it sounds cool. I'll have to look for it. Yeah,
but I don't know what they're saying by when they say the good and the bad trends, because I think, it's all subjective.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I guess you could call it a trend, but I know there's a lot of celebrities, that like are that are shooting film and making, and people always blame celebrities for making like film cameras more expensive. I guess that kind of falls into it's not a trend, but it kind of points to the trendiness of film itself.
Yeah.
So, but then that's offset nicely by skyrocketing film costs.
Yes.
So it'll squash that trend right down for us regular people.
For real. Right. I remember when which one of the Jenners had a Contax? Was it?
It was Kendall.
Kendall?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kendall,
the one that was in like a Pepsi commercial. Remember that silly Pepsi commercial where she was like solving racism with a Pepsi, and
I don't want to think about that. I'm gonna start dying on there. Yeah. But when I remember when like, I don't know, it was like an interview or something, but she was like, yeah, I shoot a lot with this thing.
She pulls out her T2.
She pulls it out.
Yeah.
And then they were like $600 at that time before, like prior to the interview airing. And then right after that, those things just shot up. Skyrocketed. Yeah. And I don't blame them, but it's a good camera, but I damn near wanted one. I don't want it now. It's like $1,300, $1,400.
I've owned 3 of those.
Have you?
I don't know if I just had bad luck. Their autofocus failed all the time.
Really?
Or maybe I was just expecting too much of it or shooting too fast with it.
Yeah.
But I've shot with it kind of crappy point and shoots, but they just missed focus all the time. But beautiful cameras. I sold them for great profit. No? But
what do you think about this might be a trend too, like hype film cameras, like the Olympus Stylus Epic or like the Yashica T4, where they don't necessarily seem like super high quality, like build wise, but have that price tag. Do you think that trend is kind of weird, or how do you feel about
because it's again, I think it always ties back to people who are shooting them. right? Because I know that, like, again, the T2 is a great example. You know, that thing of Frank Ocean, another one I think shoots a T3.
Frank Ocean.
But you know, that kind of stuff ties back to people that are shooting them, and the styluses, I think, I'm not even sure how that, I mean, it's a great camera. It is like that lens, I think, is pretty exceptional for being such a compact camera. It's pretty damn good. I mean, is it worlds better than like a $30 Canon? Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty damn good, but then you get into, like, you know, like pixel peeping territory of just zooming way in, and you know, where it kind of like doesn't matter that much,
really matter.
You know. But yeah, those, you know, the Yashica T4 and stuff, I know that was tied to, what's his name, the guy with the mustache,
who's that, photographer?
Terry Richardson. Terry Richardson. Yeah. You know, that was tied to him. That was like, you know, early 2010s. That was like the original, or at least to me, like kind of the original kind of cult. Yeah. You know, everybody wanted a Yashica T4. You know.
Yeah.
And again, a great camera with a great lens. But
so, what do you say to, like, you know, especially because film is more on the trendy side now, kids who are wanting to get into film but, you know, are afraid to shoot with that $30 camera? They think that, you know, maybe they need to have a Yashica T4 or like a Stylus Epic to make good photos.
Yeah, you know, that's a great point. I think that again, it kind of goes back to that gear acquisition syndrome. You think you need a certain thing to be able to accomplish a certain thing.
Yeah.
You know, but really that's not the case with film photography. It's just not the case.
It's not.
You know,
it's
like
really
your parents probably have an old Canon Zoom in their drawer that works fine and will take great pictures. Yeah. You know, so, you know, try not to get hung up on that. Of course, you're talking to somebody who's gotten hung up on that. You know what I mean?
Talking to people. Yeah. You know,
but
we've learned, okay?
Yeah, we've learned
through it.
That's right. When I was your age. But yeah, I mean, one thing I always tell newer, younger photographers who want to get into film is I always tell them about great undervalued cameras.
Same.
And I, in my book, like, Canon zooms are great undervalued cameras. Minolta zooms, great undervalued cameras that you can get for under $100. Yeah. If not even less than that. You know, like, you can get some pretty good stuff in the $30, $40, $50 range that are not super popular because it's tied to celebrity. Right. And that will take comparable photographs. Yeah. You know, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think, like, do you say you might need, I don't know. Sorry, I kind of just interrupted you.
No, it's all good. No.
You know that, like, old Pentax with the fake wood grip that you found?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my favorite.
I have it right here. It's still in the bag. For those of you listening, sorry, you can't see that. Look, I haven't even opened the bag.
Oh my goodness.
Let's open this up right now.
This is a really, really fun camera.
Look at that. It's a Pentax IQ Zoom 145M Super. And it's got a faux wood grip.
Yeah,
and we are literally opening it up right now for the first time.
Give him the ASMR plastic.
Oh, yeah. And this is the ASMR segment of the King James podcast. Coming at you live. But here, check that out. That's so funny. It's got a faux wood grip.
This is one of my favorite undervalued point and shoots. Because I don't think, you know, if you're just going to go around making photos of, like, your friends or you're hanging out, like, do you need a T4? Or do you need a Stylus Epic? Yeah. You might want one, though.
You might want one. Sure. Yeah, of course. Of course you want one.
But, like, you know, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. So, like, I would easily choose one of these things over, like, a T4. Especially if it did pretty good.
Yeah. You know? And especially after you see the results. And it's like, dude, those are great. Yeah.
You gotta try it out.
Yeah, try it out.
But I'm not saying don't, you know, go for the damn camera that you want.
Yeah. You know what? If you've got the money, if you've got the means, and you want to Contax T2 or T3, go for it, whatever.
Go
you know,
for
like,
it.
but you know,
I feel bad though for not getting one. I feel like
yeah,
like, oh, I don't have one. I can't make good photos, or I don't feel cool.
Yeah, you need to stop making zines until you get yourself a T3.
I'll get one soon.
I heard this one. It was a recording of a portfolio review. And one of the judges, I don't know who it was, I don't know where it was, but one of the judges was telling this artist that the pictures would have been better on film.
Interesting.
It was just really cringy. I went off the rails. I went off the rails there. I don't know, how, you know.
Was it being serious?
He was being dead serious.
Really?
Yeah, he was being dead serious.
The highlights would have been better retained with Portra.
I mean, I'm not kidding.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I will try to find it, and if I find it, I will try to send it to you.
We'll link it. You gotta watch it. We need you guys to watch it.
No promises, though. I don't even. I'm trying to remember where it even was, but it. I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with the trendiness of film, but maybe it has everything to do with the trendiness of film. As for other film trends, I don't know. I know that film itself is just
a trend,
kind of a trend right now. It has been for years, you know, and that carries through all the mediums. Like, you know, people are glued to TikTok all day,
big time,
right? They just 10 seconds of a little dopamine hit.
Yep.
You know, it's like the camera, the photos. Yep. Oh, that's another trend on Twitter. It's like the camera, the photos.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a picture of the camera, and I've done that, and because people like it. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy the engagement. I like it when people ask me, it's like, oh, how do you like that camera? And then I get to talk nerdy to people about a camera or a film or whatever, you know. But
especially like with the waist level finders, that's a trend, right? Taking photos of the camera set up with like a composition already,
right? Yeah,
you know, that's another trend. I think it's good.
Yeah, no, that's cool. There's an Instagram account that's dedicated to that.
Waist level viewfinder.
Yeah, WLVF. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. I love, you know, part of what I love about film cameras is looking through a viewfinder.
Yeah.
There's something about looking through that window that just kind of it detaches you from a scene, but it also kind of puts you in a scene and you know, in a weird way.
In a really weird way.
Yeah. I think there was another part to that question.
Is there? Creative burnout. How to manage it?
No, you don't, man. You go into a hole, eat a ton of Twinkies and cheesesteaks.
Ooh, cheesesteaks are good. I love cheesesteaks.
Me too. You know, I mean, that's something I've struggled with. I mean, I don't know if you're comfortable about this, and you can cut this out, but we've talked about how we've suffered from creative burnout.
Oh yeah,
you know,
all the time.
And it's just something that happens. And if you recognize that it's a cyclical thing and you start to recognize the patterns, you know, I've had to really work about like recognizing patterns of where my mind is going. Right. You know, where it's like where I can kind of feel like, you know, I'm feeling burnt out. I know tomorrow I'm probably not going to want to do anything. Yeah. And, you know, I can recognize that now, you know, and that takes work. It doesn't make anything easier, but it does kind of, you know, help you kind of get through those times.
And that's super important that you mentioned, like, just recognizing when you do feel burnt out. Yeah. I think in terms of like managing it, I don't know, I have some like weird approaches. Like sometimes I just don't want to be around a camera. You know, I'll put it away, or like, and I'll just like dive into something completely different, like music, or I used to run. And I got a gut, so I don't run anymore. But or another thing is like just doing it. Yeah. You know, like, even if you don't want to, you know, like, there will be times where like I'll go out to the San Francisco with the camera, and like I don't want to be there, but I know that I probably should. Yeah. But there's something with like, sorry, it's hard.
Do not disturb is on. Sorry.
There's something about getting out there even when you don't want to do something. Yeah. And then, you know, if something does end up coming out of it, it feels good. Yeah. You know, and that could be the boost to get you in back, you know, to regain that momentum. Because I feel like a lot of what people feel with creative burnout is the momentum kind of plateauing. Yeah. and that's where they're like, oh no, you know, like I don't really feel this thing anymore.
Yeah.
So
I know I felt guilty when that momentum plateaus, and it's like,
yeah,
it shouldn't. I should be working harder, and I'll feel guilty that I'm not working harder.
Gotcha.
And I've had to. I still struggle with getting a grip on that, and kind of coming to terms with that guilt of feeling that I should be doing more, feeling that I should be making better stuff.
Right.
I'm still working on that, but I think the first step is just recognizing it.
Yep.
That's always the first step in anything, is just recognizing it's there. And then you just have to kind of figure out what the steps are to kind of get through it, because you can't get around it. You can't get over it. You really have to just go through it.
You can't really avoid it.
Yeah. You can't avoid it, especially if you go into something so hard. And I do have, I've got other hobbies too. Like I play guitar, I play video games, and sometimes my mind I've learned enough about my own mind that I know I need a rest sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'll take that rest, but I also have to be mindful about it, because sometimes my rests can be a little too long.
Me too.
It's like I should have been back at work a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Well, we've been through a couple of topics, and we are sitting at about an hour worth.
Cool.
So I guess that is the very end here of the second podcast episode. We did it, Mike.
We did it.
Let's
Thank
go.
you for having me, dude. That's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love chatting. It's fun.
And kind of to do an outro that I don't have an outro myself. The first episode was just me, so I'm like, you guys know where to find me. But where can they find you on?
They can find me on Twitter at Mike Padua.
Okay.
On Instagram at the Mike Padua. Yeah, because somebody took Mike Padua.
Really?
Before I was late to Instagram. I was a couple of years late to Instagram.
Really?
And that's pretty much it. The website, my photography is MikePadua.com. The Shoot Film Co. brand and shop is at shootfilmco.com. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Padua. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Boom.
Hell yes, sucker. Cool, man. That's fun.